plenty. Could you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. We have a nice full house tonight. It's exciting. Terry, could you please call the roll?
Absolutely. Frost.
Here.
No.
Here.
Ben Joseph.
Here.
Chow.
Here.
Gorson.
Here.
Moons. Here. Tyre.
Here.
We're all here tonight.
Okay.
Oh,
And do we have any correspondence?
None.
Why don't you email it to me?
I got it.
Gosh.
Thank you. Sorry, the Wi-Fi at Stevenson continues to be bad, so I can't connect to my iPad. But Dr. Tunjwal, I shared it with you. So.
You just did?
Yeah, or it should be shared already.
Got it.
You got it. Okay.
Sorry, I'm running a little bit.
Sorry, I was out of country last January meeting. I was in India, so couldn't make it to this. But yeah.
Okay, there we go. Sorry for the delay.
So because of that, I have extra stuff to share today. A lot of cool stuff going on. So yeah, the first thing, we've done a lot of cool stuff building and creating our community here at Stevenson. So we had our SASA actually partner with Freedom Flow to provide menstrual products for women across rural India, and they had a very huge success. We had our Asian American Student Night Market happen. These are some pictures from that as well. I personally haven't had the chance to attend a night market at Stevenson so far. This was my first one. Super great experience, lots of cool food, performances, all of that sort of stuff. Over here, we had our Write Club host its annual Page Break Festival. And so for this, we had feeder middle schools come to Stevenson and had the opportunity to engage with writers at Stevenson and kind of get to explore the different writing opportunities, participate in some workshops, some professional development sessions, and just get a chance of what the different courses are offered at Stevenson in the kind of writing English space. And then over here we had our successful fine arts tour. So our fine arts department had the opportunity to go to the different feeder middle schools, tour, and get students excited and hyped about the fine arts opportunities available offered at Stevenson. In terms of serving our community, there have been a couple things that have happened. So first off, our Gift of Hope organ donation had a collaboration with NHS at the last Committee Generals meeting. That was awesome. Over here, the Black Student Union organized a food lab as part of Black History Month. And I think they also had like learning to step, like a African American dance ritual. And they had like different feeder middle schools, like I know Aptekissiks, Black Tranquility Club also had the opportunity to attend and learn from some of our BSU leaders on different, African American cultural techniques in dancing, cooking, food, etc. And then over here we had our Students Helping Soldiers organize a very successful fundraiser, and they also had we'll be welcoming guest speaker Bruce Johnson, who is the CEO of the Behavioral Health Services and former active duty member. And then over here, we have our Kiva Entrepreneurial Showcase, which is happening tomorrow. And I actually have a whole slide on that towards the end because I want to talk a little bit more about that one. So, yeah. In terms of field trips, we've had a lot of fun application of content through field trips. So over here, we had our Students in Accounting 1 field trip. Over here, we had our marketing classes take a trip to Soldier Field as part of their sports marketing unit. And then over here, they visited our investment management class visited the Chicago Board of Trade as part of a fun field trip outing to the city. So it's been a lot of cool stuff. I'm in Spanish literature this year, and we are traveling to the Art Institute of Chicago next month to do some fun like text art comparison and have like different tapas samplers and stuff. So very exciting stuff, and I think second semester is usually packed with a lot of fun field trips. Yeah, and then we've also had some pretty fun academic victories. Our 2024 Regeneron STS Scholars were announced last month. This is one of the most prestigious science competitions awards that can be given to any sort of youth high schooler, and there's only 300 that are awarded. And this year we actually had 2 of them awarded to Stevenson students, which was awesome. That's a huge prestige. We had our debate tournament also do pretty well. This is our debate tournament at ICDA 5. They placed second at the Tournament of Champions. This is our congressional debate team at Barclay Forum at Emory University 2 weeks ago, and then last week they were at UPenn for another tournament. So a lot of great stuff in that kind of realm. And over here we have our Science Olympiad team, who've been doing a really, really good job. And then this is the National Stock Marketing Competition, and they've also been performing really well, and they actually won 3rd place nationally. So that was some pretty cool victories from the academic side of things this month. And then in terms of athletics, Emery, who is a current senior, actually broke the Stevenson record for women's rebounds. That was very cool. Our table tennis club, they had competitive table tennis competitions throughout the year, and they're now headed to state. Our archery club, they also, they've been doing pretty well. They traveled to Danville High School 2 weeks ago, got 1st place there, and then this is our ice hockey team, our allied ice hockey team. So that's also some pretty cool stuff. And then in terms of arts, we obviously have our varsity Patriots who are outside there. Won 1st place at IHSA State. No surprise, they've been doing a really, really good job for all the years that I've been at Stevenson, so a huge congratulations to them. We had a successful consortium performances, so over the month of January and February, obviously we had our orchestra consortium, choir consortium, and band consortium concerts where a bunch of feeder middle schools, middle schoolers had the opportunity to perform with their Stevenson counterparts and kind of get to explore the fine arts department a little bit more. There were 16 students from Stevenson who had the opportunity to attend ILMEA. ILMEA is like a statewide fine arts festival where they get the chance to perform with some of the best singers, some of the best instrumentalists across the state. So that was also some pretty cool stuff. And then we also had our freshman-sophomore play, which they performed 3 times over the last 2 weeks ago, and had a good turnout as well. So yeah, those are some fun performances.
I think I'm gonna email them. Can I share this with the board?
Yeah, you can share this with the board.
Okay,
This
just tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so this was before Odyssey. I interviewed, I think, about 8 to 10 students about what they kind of envisioned their Odyssey experience to be like. For everyone, it was their first Odyssey experience that they've had at Stevenson. And so kind of getting their perspectives, looking through their course schedules, and so it was a fun video. I wish we could have watched it, but no worries.
It'll load, and then once it hits I'll share.
Okay, sure. So these are just some pictures that we've captured from Odyssey. They had so many different options this year. They had everything from Western African drums to plating. This is like a plating class that they had over here. Pottery making. I know a lot of my friends had pottery making. Shakespeare improv. That was also a pretty unique class. I was in that class. A lot of my friends, we read Shakespeare in class, but it was cool to kind of act it out. They had a lot of cool vocalists like Jason Dreyer and a lot of very big people in the Chicagoland area, former Stevenson alumni, come and it was just honestly a great experience given that we haven't been able to have an Odyssey since 2020. So that was also something that was a nice break in our long semester. And I remember talking about this at the Student Leadership Advisory Council meeting, but oftentimes January, February, March can be very early months, weather is cold outside, we're stuck to the same schedule, and so Odyssey was a great kind of 2-day break from the regular academic classes, so that was enjoyable. And then this is the entrepreneurial showcase. So I'm the president of Kiva this year. Kiva is a service organization that microloans to country entrepreneurs in emerging economies, and we kind of provide them with, obviously starter funding, and they're able to grow their local businesses to support their local communities and make a living out of that. And so we've supported through Kiva over the last 20 years over 660 entrepreneurs. And so this year, for the first time ever, we are organizing something called the Entrepreneurial Showcase. So over the last several years that Kiva has existed, a lot of our events have been primarily fundraising based. So we organize S Factor, which is the singing competition. We organize Kiva Challenge, Ballapalooza, which is a basketball competition. For the first time, we're doing something called Entrepreneurial Showcase. And this was because we noticed a lot of people, they didn't actually know where all this money was going, right? We've loaned over $60,000 over the last 20 years, but really where has this money gone? And so what this is really, we had about 22 teams have the opportunity to select an entrepreneur that Kiva has microloaned to in the past, and essentially design a booth, a bulletin board with activities and informational content on these specific entrepreneurs that we're supporting. What do they actually need money for? How have they used the money for in the past? And so tomorrow we're featuring our first Kiva Entrepreneurial Showcase in the Point. So for anyone that is in the building tomorrow, I encourage you guys to come out to the Point, and this is going to be a really, really great event. Excited to see what our teams produce about their entrepreneurs and about their specific countries. But yeah, that's just what we've been up to in the last 2 months. Clearly a lot of stuff happening. But excited to be back in March and share some more about Turnabout, a lot of other things that are coming up soon.
Very nice.
Yeah, any questions? Yeah.
So I'm curious, you said that you've made 60,000 in loans in the last 20 years? And these are
60,000.
micro loans, so are they getting repaid? Are you
Yeah.
then relending?
Right, so we pay them a starter amount, they use that money, and then once they like kind of build back that revenue, they micro loan it back to us so that the funding just keeps cycling. And we just keep making money obviously through the events. So I think we donated, Kiva donated I think $15K to the Stevenson Foundation last October. So yeah.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Any other questions?
Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank
We
you as
appreciate your
always.
input.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any visitor statements tonight? All right, then I guess we're on to the fun stuff.
Okay, so we begin tonight with Ambassador Awards. And tonight we have our Director of Curriculum Instruction, Mark Onishek, is here with us. And Mark, I think, is going to begin tonight with recognizing some of our students with Ambassador Awards. And just one quick thing about Ambassador Awards. We like to give out Ambassador Awards from the board, and these go to the students who have achieved at the highest levels, either academically or co-curricularly through athletics or activities. And tonight we have an amazing group of students as well. So, Mr. Onishek, take it away.
Tonight, we're here to announce our competitive dance 3A dance state champions. I'm gonna ask you, I'm gonna call you up, and then we're gonna get greeted by our president of the board, and then I'm just gonna ask you to stand over there, okay? So we've got Ariel Boshevsky. Gabriella Belmonte. Isabel Botcher.
Congratulations.
Emma Bundy.
Congratulations. Where should we?
You don't want me in the picture.
Thank you.
I'll just ruin it. Macy Carafine. Ali Fairman.
Congratulations.
Christina Fang.
Over here.
Tess Freeman.
Thank you. Oh, you get picture. Thank you.
Rowan Height. Kaylin Kaplan. Irene Kim. Casper Couric. Nicolette Legan. Erin Liu. Maddie Liu. Ava Michael.
Ella Nolan. Gabby Ostrand. Katie Pederick. Meredith Polanski. Rochelle Polikoff. Alicia Lebanov. Callie Schneider. Samantha Strednick. April Tan. And their coach, Kristen Carson Cook.
Yay.
That's it. All right, can we get a picture of the whole group? That would be Miss O, do you mind?
So photogenic right now.
Me too.
Whole group.
We might need 3 rows of pictures.
Oh, yes. Make sure you get my outfit. Make sure you get my outfit.
Tallest in the back,
Should we 3 lines?
Yeah, 3 lines.
Are we like pulling it up?
Yep, perfect. Oh my God. Okay, perfect.
Wait.
Just behind you.
All right.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Let everyone else.
Oh, my legs are shaking. And boy. Okay, that's enough. All right.
I know, I think they should have taught Stephen here.
That's where are you seniors going to school?
I think they wanted to.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for doing pictures.
Thank you. Bye, Amy. Good to see you. Nice check. Thank you.
Yeah.
Talk to you after. Give a minute after.
We have a science team.
What is a 3A?
I'll catch you.
Yes.
Does Steve live here?
Yeah.
Whatever category?
I saw him with all his answers.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was the coach.
Maybe just it's the category or something? Yeah.
Steve, she said something. Steve would be.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Well, that was fun.
You have dancing tonight, Lord?
I was gonna put on a show for you. Terry, I would not be nearly as entertaining as they would for you. But I'll hand
I was over there to do the routine.
Exactly.
Where's your routine?
Well, just wait.
All right.
So, All right, so next item on the agenda is our curriculum team presentation, and tonight we have members of our science division here. We're very excited to see you all, and you'll recall that over the course of the last couple of years, we've asked teams to come and present around the work that we're doing. That's a great picture, by the way. The work that we're doing related to social emotional learning. So I will let Steve introduce the members of his team, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. I don't want to take too much of the thunder, but Mark Lindenberger and Dave Eddy are the AP Physics 2 team. They've been teaching this course for several years. And this last spring, about a year ago, they came and they said, we have a different idea for how we want to approach some things. Teaching kids some of the skills that they're going to need long term, as most of these kids are seniors, but I will stop right there because I think that's probably going to be part of your presentation. So, yeah, take it away.
Stand.
Yes, please. Yeah, I think so. Whatever you're comfortable.
Whatever, all right, go.
You're good. So in the science division, but you want to talk about our?
Yeah, so AP Physics 2, there's actually only 3 sections of the course. It's just Dave and I teaching it. It is almost all seniors. There's a few juniors in there. They are pretty much all going to college. Lots of kids doing STEM stuff, at college. And one of the things that Dave and I always talk about is just this idea of, like, what do the kids need? And then we'll go on from there. So, go ahead, Dave. You want to talk about this?
Oh yeah, I love talking about this. One of the things of a PLC is to take a look at data and have our decisions driven by it. And so we took a look at our panorama data. And although we were always very proud of our panorama data, we were able to dive deeper into a couple of elements that we saw that there are a couple of areas of growth. And so some of these questions really started to take a theme, and that's when.
Yeah, so, and we kind of looked at this last one as, like our curriculum is based on the college boards. We don't get to choose our curriculum. Now we do, I think we do a great job of showing the kids how our curriculum relates to everyday life. But we kind of viewed, like this last one that we put the blue box around, as what skills can we try to teach the kids so that, once they go to college, what are some of the things that we can work on with them so that they can use that at college and then hopefully use it beyond when they become, kind of lifelong learners. So. That one's me?
This one's you.
All right. So we decided that this was you?
I think this one was me.
Okay, all right.
I thought it was you.
Okay. But I'll say a little bit about this one. So one of the things that I think Dave and I do really well, and it's easy on a 2-person team, is we talk every single year and just like, hey, what do you think? Where are the kids at? What do we need to do? What can we do to help the kids? And then I'll let you go from there.
Okay. And it's one of my favorite questions, and a lot of time it's been skills-based and they're really struggling with graphing or a mathematical aspect about physics. But this year we noticed that, along with the trends that came out of the panorama data, that students were having a hard time identifying what it was that they didn't know. They would go into a test and we'd ask them, oh, how'd you think you did? Oh, terrible, I did terrible. And they did great. Or it would be the opposite. It'd be like, oh, I think I did really well, and not so good. And so that there seemed to be like a disconnection about not being able to identify what they knew. And then this one was a little bit deeper, but they also didn't know how to respond when they did identify that there was an issue with their understanding. And so responding to what they knew and what they didn't know was very reactionary in our course before this year's goal for us. And so I made a little graphic up at the top. This was very much the process that our students went through. They would learn something, they would process it, they would practice it, and then they would have the first performance of it. And from that performance, they would get feedback from us. And only at that point would they remediate any of their misunderstandings, and then they would re-perform. But we found a lot of our students were so dependent on that re-performance in order to have that sense of success or know how to succeed. And that made us pretty worried, knowing that most of our students would be going off to college in the next year, and they aren't offered that opportunity for reperformance often. And so the idea that we had for this year was to have this remediation happen before the performance. So the students still go through a standard learning cycle of learning, processing, and practice, but before the assessment came in with our performance, we wanted to implement a series of self-assessment tools that the students would put into place so that they can use that self-assessment to determine what is it they need to remediate in their understanding before the performance. So we wanted to actually push that remediation before their initial performance. This is in line with our student agency, and when we were talking about this, we noticed it was kind of built under resilience and proficiency. Students were able to remediate misconceptions prior to the assessment. It allowed them to be a little bit more adaptable and a lot more self-aware about what their understanding was, and then also to develop self-assessment strategies leading to a more individualized plan, one in which they were able to build themselves.
So here's what we actually did. So what we decided we were gonna do, and it wasn't easy because our course is one of the few AP courses that's just a period long. But we decided we were gonna build into our schedule before any assessments, so before any quizzes, before any tests, the kids, we would take some class time and kind of have the kids self-assess. Hey, hey, tomorrow you got a quiz, this is the stuff that's on your quiz, and we want you to think about, hey, just this content, give yourself a grade, 1 to 4. Our 3 skills are mainly graphical, math, and verbal. Those are our 3 skills that we do. So, hey, give yourself a graphical score for that content. Give yourself a math score for that content, a verbal score for that content. And then, hey, what are you gonna do? Like, if you're like, hey, you know what, I'm not so great at this, or this doesn't, I'm not really sure how to do math with that, then what are you gonna do before the actual assessment so that hopefully you can study smart and perform better on the assessment. And then after the assessment, and this was mainly just to collect some data for this purpose, for our slow data and stuff like that. I think it's the next slide. We had then the students, one of the amazing things working, there's a lot of amazing things working with Dave, but one of the amazing things working about Dave
Same thing about you.
is that Dave is amazing at he put together like these really great Google forms and stuff like that. But so essentially we asked them questions like, hey, how did you perform like on the test? Did you perform like you thought? If you performed better than you thought, well, was that because you studied smart or you just didn't self-analyze correctly? If you performed worse than you thought, like why do you think that? And so after each of our assessments, we spent a little bit of class time and had the kids fill out this kind of self-reflection form.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a combination of having an opportunity to self-assess prior to the assessment, and then afterwards say, how well do you think you did on that? And we collect data, because that's what we do. And so we recognize that only about 57% of the students felt like they were assessing themselves accurately. And that means that the remaining 43% were either rating themselves too highly, they thought they were going to do better than they actually were, or they were rating themselves too low, that they felt like they were going to do worse, but they did better. So the next questions that we asked were actually a lot more revealing to us. The why do you believe that you did better question was great, because students are always happy to do better, but why do they feel like they did better? This was very informative to us, that a majority of our students felt like because they engaged in focused study that was based on what they were struggling with before the assessment, that's why they felt that they ended up doing better. My favorite is they felt they just got lucky on it. They just rolled the dice, but it was a very narrow wedge, and so that was important. But others said that their pre-assessment level they felt was too low. One of the more important ones as well was when we said, why do you believe you did worse than you predicted? We left this one pretty open-ended. We gave them a couple of pre-slugged spots that they can choose, and then had other, in which they were able to type in whatever they wish to do. So I threw this all into ChatGPT, one of my favorite tools, and asked it just to give me a summary, and some major themes emerged. They said that they had difficulty understanding the graphical content. This was just for our one standard. So this one wasn't a surprise to us, but others recognized that they had incomplete preparation. They had time management issues on the test. They didn't pay attention to details, whether or not that was about the question itself or attention to details in the content. They increased their, and other things that they wanted to do was they wanted to increase their study efforts. They felt like asking questions and seeking clarification could have helped them out more. They could have reviewed and reflected on the material, improved their time management and homework completion. That was a big one that was a large realization for many of our students, that they actually should do the practice that's available to them. And then specific learning strategies that we employed. So these were some of the pieces that they identified that they would like to do next time upon reflection.
And so one of the things, the idea was, can the students, before they take a test, can they kind of predict how they're gonna do? And if the prediction is like, hey, I'm not gonna do great, then let's do something so you can do great. But we found, let me just see where we're at. We found, are we starting to talk? I'm just going to talk about what I want to talk about today. Anyway, I'm just going to talk about what I want to talk about. We found that from doing this process, the way we are moving forward with this is we decided it made sense to have them turn in some review materials a little bit earlier and try to get feedback on these review materials a little bit earlier. And I think we have one of the main tools that we're trying to emphasize with the kids, and we're trying to give them different ways of approaching this, but the one that both Dave and I agree is probably the best is what we've dubbed a one-pager, but for some kids it turns into a three-pager because they do one for graphical, one for math, one for verbal. But I always approach this with my students. It's like, all right, think about, you have a test tomorrow, and tomorrow their kids are taking a test or a quiz on refraction. You have a quiz tomorrow on refraction. What graphical stuff do you think is going to be on the quiz? That's your one-pager. What math stuff do you think is going to be on the quiz? That's your one-pager. What verbal stuff am I going to ask you on the quiz? That's your one-pager. And we're trying to get these students to turn this in sooner so that we can give them feedback and go like, hey, I think you're missing, remember this whole lab that we did? You're missing that. Go back and revise. And I've found once we started assigning this a little bit sooner, I've gotten a lot more students actually coming to me and going, hey, can you just look at this ahead of time? And do you think I'm missing anything? And which is it's a really nice review tool. And this is even when we're going over the assessment, I like to do things like, let's say we have a question on tomorrow on Snell's Law or graphing or whatever. If you didn't have that on your one-pager, like you should have. And let's kind of think about that and moving forward. But the idea is, this is just a tool that hopefully the kids, when they go to college, all right, I got to study for the test. What do I do? This is something that hopefully some of the kids will do and use. That me or you?
Yeah, I'll get it. And so, to Mark's point, one of the things we wanted to do was we wanted to have the students self-assess earlier and be able to make that a gradual release of responsibility to where that was more on themselves. And so they can use remediation tools that focus on those self-reflective practices. We asked them to do practiced recall and elaboration, so different strategies they can do in order to help them with their self-assessment. So, is there anything more you'd like to know about our self-assessment and our student learning objective in science?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I noticed in the student survey data that you collected it gives you a little bit of a window into the students' self-talk, right? How they're seeing themselves as learners and thinking about themselves when it comes to readiness, and whether they're sort of over-predicting or under-predicting their success. And then also like when they're reflecting and looking at where they were less successful, someone wrote like, I made a stupid mistake or I made a silly mistake. Are you seeing shifts in this little window into their self-talk as you're using these approaches? Like, are they being a little kinder with themselves because it's challenging content?
I will say not really. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, I think the answer that we've found, and one of the reasons like we're changing things a little bit this semester is because we kind of found our answer was not really. Like what the type of responses we were getting early in the semester were kind of same as the type of responses that we're getting late in the semester. Would you agree with that, Dave?
Yeah, as students they were working through self-assessment strategies and they were doing them, but we were looking for like, does it change the overall pattern? So we looked at the beginning of the year versus the beginning of the semester and the end of the semester. We were hoping that they were a little bit more aligned, or that their language to themselves about what they were missing and what they were getting was going to deviate or improve. So over this very narrow window, we didn't see very much change. That's one of the things that led to us realizing we probably need a little bit more time between the self-assessment and the actual assessment to give them that time to truly remediate. And so that's what we're trying for second semester. We put something up on Canvas where they would deliver a plan that we would be able to review with them. So it's more about those actionable steps, not just the awareness of it, but what action can you take?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we were hoping, like you're saying,
Yeah.
but I mean, you know, this was our first go through, and it like the first semester, our first semester stuff, it didn't really show that.
It's hard because the highest achieving students are often the hardest on themselves.
True. Yeah, go ahead.
I had two questions, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna ask them anyway, but I think the answer might be totally different than what I was expecting. I was expecting you to say this had all sorts of impact on, on their learning. And also, it seems like it would have an impact on the other competencies. I mean, the sense of belonging and all the other things, that it's such a neat tool that you're talking about in teaching the self. I'm kind of surprised you had the results that you had. And then I guess if I had a really good director of my department, then I'm curious what they would think about, does this concept you're raising apply to other subject matters in my department? And how does this fit if I had someone in my department that was kind of thoughtful and wanted to think about it?
Big
Very subtle.
That's very subtle.
Okay, we'll just leave that and let it go.
But you asked the kids to respond to, you had that kind of the two slides, the pie chart, the one before the ChatGPT, you had the kind of the three different responses of are their responses in line with what you thought they would say? In other words, like if you go back, like to that one, would you have, would you have predicted this kind of distribution?
This is the one that I was happiest with when I saw this.
Yeah.
I would have thought for sure the reality would have been a greater, I got lucky at this because I just tried it and it worked out in my favor. Or just that they happened to have done a pre-assessment that was too low. But this was the one indicator that they felt there was value in there.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not it had a big impact academically, like it shifted a grade dramatically throughout the semester, but at least that they were able to recognize that their focused studying based on their pre-assessment was valuable to them.
Right.
I definitely took that away as a win.
Yeah,
We might be a little bit hard on ourselves because
Yeah.
we wanted to see everyone went from 60% to 100%. Yay,
Yeah.
everyone's getting fours now. But this is at least.
And I'm sorry if I missed the punchline on this one, but did you notice a change in distributions on those assessments then, or you didn't?
Not really.
Not really. And well, I will say like the distribution with the feedback was pretty consistent
Yeah.
this semester. But as the semester went on, there's certain things that Dave and I did in class, like one of the things we started doing was collecting the one pager sooner and kind of changing how we review and you know, like some of that and that had a definite effect on their test scores. Like we saw as the semester went on, like, and would you agree with that? That like some of that, which it was one of those things that it was kind of it was not really exactly what we were hoping for, but I think in the end, like that result was a good result, and if nothing else, our hope is the kids are gonna have some different review tools, some different ways of helping themselves when they go to college.
Yeah.
You know, because I know I haven't been in college for a long time, but and I know it looks like I have just came out of college, but
2 years ago.
you know, but I haven't been in college in a long time. But I know, like my understanding, most times at college, it's like, hey, you got a test next Tuesday. Good luck. And so then how do we help the students to get like to figure that out for themselves, and that's really one of Dave's and my like big goals with this. If the kids walk away with having this one tool that they can pull out to get ready, then whatever the data is, it was.
Yeah, and that's that sense of efficacy. I mean, my takeaway from this is that, okay, well, that may not have been true, but you guys learned something, which was good. The kids may have picked up on a particular agency skill or whatever that might be. And the reality is, generally speaking, these are pretty high achieving kids anyway, so the movement is, you're probably not gonna see as much of a, as an obvious leap. But the fact that you all learned something from this, that's pretty good, you know, so.
And that's right, I think they're not giving themselves enough credit, if I
I
could
hear
piggyback
that,
for just a second. Because even that small step of moving the one pager up in that conversation is really teaching the kids the agency and efficacy of, well, I should have been starting this earlier. And I should have been doing those practices. And they're starting to do them because of that conversation.
No, it's huge. It's really good, you guys.
Yeah, I think it informed our practice every bit as much as it may have informed the kids.
Yes.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate that your concern is for their future growth, for their how well they're gonna do in college, all of those sort of big picture things. I think that's really great, especially in an AP class where we could get really focused on what your score gonna be. I think that, you know, taking that approach, it's super valuable to them, whether they see it or not now, they will someday. But thank you.
So are you taking this practice that you did, the one pager thing and reevaluating it? Are you sharing that with the other members of the science department?
Yeah, we
The
have.
physics department?
They're on other teams.
Yeah.
Oh, you're on other teams too?
Yes.
Well, also they shared a staff development in the fall, the plans, those earlier on. But we have 3 strands in our professional development, and one of them is helping students take ownership of their own learning. So like, what are the strategies? And so they shared at one of the meetings, like, here's what we've done, here's what we've learned, here's what didn't go so well, and that started some good conversations.
And you're not hiding this, right?
No, it's not.
Don't let anybody know.
Don't tell them, if this really works.
Dave likes to keep secrets, Terry.
Don't tell anybody, Terry.
Well, thank you very much. It was really
Very interesting.
great presentation. Yeah.
Before the group leaves, there's like a whole bunch of like congratulations sitting right in this room, right? Like, so congratulations. I'm gonna sit down for this part. Well, no, I mean, there's like all kinds of good news, right? Dave Eddy, you know, in the fall or in December, I think, Molly or.
Let's fill in the Dave Eddy.
Oh, sorry, will you all?
Read a book.
Oh,
Yes, I did all of those.
all those things. He's our
It's great.
director of student activities, so that's very exciting. And Molly's our new student activities coordinator. Congratulations. And Brett Erdman tonight, director of student learning programs. Pretty exciting. And I think we're also bittersweet approving Steve Wood's retirement as well. And so.
I don't think so, cause you have too many
You have a
positions
few
fill
years to
now,
put up
so-
with me.
Yeah, so.
You guys denied that one.
that's later in the agenda. So anyway, what an amazing group. So congratulations and thank you for all you guys do. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you for being here. And there may still be some cookies if the dance team
They,
didn't take.
they ate.
They ate them all?
Do we have anyone left to teach science now?
Sure, everybody's moving on.
48 others up there running around. But we will be coming back with some new hires soon.
Thank you guys, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Right, it's getting thinner and thinner here. Okay, so next item is just a first reading of our textbooks for our this year's recommendation for textbooks purchases for next year. This is just a first reading. You'll have an opportunity to take a look at those books if you're interested. By statute, actually, we have those books here in the district office someplace, I'm assuming Mark's office. So by statute, if you wanted, or any member of the public wanted to come in and look at them, you're welcome to do that. And many of these are e-learning books, correct?
Is that geometry one that's?
It is.
That's
Yeah,
e-learning?
yeah. So, you know, there were many folks who were very, nervous on behalf of the textbook publishers about, oh no, how will they make their money into the future?
Well, they figured it out.
And they figured it out. So it's a yearly fee for many of these books, and that's what we have here. So just a first reading, we'll bring that back to you in March for your approval. You will see your usual assortment of personnel items there, including, as we said, I think Molly is in there. Brett Erdman is in there, Steve Woods' retirement letter is in there as well. So science is, lots of changes going on, but they have a deep bench, so we're gonna be okay. So that will be taken up in consent. We will not need an executive session following the meeting. And then Sean only has one item for tonight, and it's a first reading.
That's correct. So, as you know, we contract right now with Constellation Energy for the purchase of electricity and natural gas to really avoid the volatility of both markets. We work with our provider to determine what is the price at, when's a good time to price, and then we can kind of set our budget and not have to pay exorbitant fees when we have a polar vortex or there's brownouts, rolling brownouts or blackouts, whatever may be happening on the East Coast. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, we are at the end of those contracts, and therefore we need to take a look at renewing them. We're in the process of doing those evaluations right now. What I will say is that the state code does not require us to actually bid these services or the procurement of these products. So we are in the process right now of working with a couple of different vendors to get some good pricing, to see where the market is at. What I can tell you from our first meeting is that the market's higher than where we were, but lower, substantially lower than where it has been in the last year. So when you think of things like the conflict that's going on in between Russia and Ukraine right now, that had an extreme impact on natural gas prices, which then impacted the the electricity prices. And because we had entered into some agreements, or these agreements, we actually just had steady pricing for electricity and natural gas and avoided those types of volatility, and that's the whole reason we do this. So there'll be more information forthcoming. You can expect it in March.
Is this a pre-purchase or we're just setting our rate?
We're setting our rate for the future. So we don't trade it, we purchase it and hold it, or use it, I guess I should say. But we don't purchase 100% of our need either, because we have other things to offset.
Okay, and then you'll see only one FOIA request this month that Sean and his team completed, and that takes us to consent.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Terry, could you please poll?
No?
Aye.
Ben Yosef?
Aye.
Chow?
Aye.
Gorson?
Aye.
Moons? Aye. Tyre?
Aye.
Frost?
Aye.
Carries 7-0.
Okay, and then I don't have a whole lot for tonight, other than I just, P and I wanted to share with you on, under important dates, you'll see a link there to, I know that you have a Google Calendar, and I think all these things are on the Google Calendar as well, Pia, right? You know, spring's always a busy time, so in addition to the things being on the Google Calendar, we wanted you to have this as well. March 8th, we have an executive technology meeting with Gary. All are welcome. If you want to come to that though, let us know, cause we would need to know that. Otherwise, it'll just be Gary and a small team. March board meeting, April 9th, finance, board dialogue in April, prominent patriot. We have our scholarship reception in April. Amy and Steve sometimes come to our faculty and staff barbecue lunch for Teacher Appreciation Week. It'd be great to see you there. May 16th, retirement 25-year and tenure party. And I just wanted to alert you again to the week of graduation. We're gonna end up just the way the dates fall. We have a board meeting, the next night we have a board meeting, and then we have graduation. So that's a big week. If you could just pencil us in. We promise to feed you well that week, but it'll be a busy week. For any of you golfers out there, there's the Foundation Golf Outing on June 3rd, June board meeting, no meeting in July as usual, and then August 2nd and 3rd is our retreat. So feel free to print that out. I don't see there being a lot of changes at this point, but they're also in the Google Calendar. So, and then thanks to Jamie and Pia for putting some nice little kudos in the back of the board book. But interestingly enough, Kosh actually covered most of them. So he's pretty amazing.
Isn't he?
Yeah, he's really good. And it looks like that video finally loaded, and so I'll share that with you as well. So I'll share it as a Google presentation or a Google Doc, and then you can download it. All right, that's all I have.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're adjourned.